Welcome! After discussing Hungary's participation in Operation Barbarossa and the 1942 campaign, it's time to take a look at the country's occupation forces that were stationed mainly in Ukraine between 1941 and 1944. These units were intended for security purposes, but they had a hard time containing the partisans and fighting against Red Army formations, so they also deserve a video. In July 1941, once Army Group Karpat was disbanded and Rapid Corps continued its advance in Ukraine, the much slower infantry units stayed behind in western Ukraine to pacify the area and secure supply lines. Relations with the local population were peaceful, and this remained mostly the same once they marched east to Vinnytsia and Berdichev. In November, thanks to an agreement between Hitler and Admiral Horthy, the two brigades, 8th Border Guard and 1st Mountain, left for Hungary. They were replaced with four newly mobilized infantry brigades, 5th, 8th, 21st, and 24th, whose designation was changed by adding 100 to the original number, so they became the 105th, 108th, etc. They were at 60% of their wartime strength, with small arms, a few machine guns and mortars, but no artillery. Partisan attacks against railway connections started at that time, once it became obvious that the Germans were not there to liberate Ukraine. Hungarian security troops engaged in ad hoc battles, mostly under German leadership, as the Hungarian Occupation Command was responsible only for logistical and disciplinary matters. As the war required more effort from the Axis, German demands increased as well. In December, four more brigades were mobilized in Hungary, but only one, the 102nd, was sent to Ukraine, while Rapid Corps was being withdrawn from the front and soon returned to participate in a parade in Budapest and return to its peacetime quarters. There was no relief, though. Wilhelm Keitel arrived in January, demanding more troops, leading to the formation of Second Army, which was dispatched to the front in a piecemeal fashion, as I explained it in my other videos. By that time, the five security brigades engaged in their first major operation. Two of them guarded the Gomel-Chernigov railway, while the other three watched the railway east of Kiev. In February, all infantry brigades of the Royal Hungarian Army were redesignated as light divisions to indicate their binary structure, which did not change at all. In March 1942, the security divisions attacked partisan forces in the Bryansk woods and captured large quantities of material, but when Soviet forces advanced, the 102nd and 108th were thrown into the fray and suffered heavy casualties trying to stop the Red Army. By May, the front stabilized, but the partisans regained their strength, so more operations were conducted in the Bryansk woods. At that time, roughly 43,000 partisans faced 40,000 Hungarian troops. In June, the occupation area was split into two. The eastern group guarded the important railway east of Kiev with three security divisions and a few German and Italian formations, while the western group stayed west of the Dnieper River. Two more security divisions, the 1st and 201st, arrived by December, but these were ad hoc formations, with their units coming from all parts of the country. They received captured equipment, and for the first time, they had artillery, mostly Belgian 75mm field guns. Total strength of the occupation forces now reached 59,000, although some units had been rotated, and the Soviet counterattack soon started, resulting in the defeat of Hungarian Second Army, whose remnants retreated towards Belgorod. The question was, what to do with these remaining troops? In March, while the Wehrmacht and SS divisions were trying to stabilize the front at Kharkov, four reformed light divisions of the now beaten Second Army joined the seven security divisions. Manpower reached 121,000, but they were still inadequately equipped, lacking heavy weapons, while the men came from the 2nd and 3rd Reserve and Second Army veterans who were not eager to fight. Second Army HQ took command of this force, but in May it was deactivated and a new Occupation Forces Command was formed under General Géza Lakatos, who replaced Lieutenant General Jani. This force now had 13 light divisions in 2 army corps, 7th and 8th, but more reorganization followed. 2 fresh units arrived from Hungary. They relieved 2 other units, while the security divisions were renamed light divisions, and they dropped the 100 from their designation, so they were now listed with their original numbers. By June 1943, 7th Corps had 4 light divisions around Korosten and Vinica, while 8th Corps had 5 light divisions in the Gomel-Chernigov area. In the meantime, Hungary refused to send security units to the Balkans. The 101st Independent Tank Company was formed in October 1942, with 15 captured French Hotchkiss H-39 and 2 Somua S-35 tanks and 350 men. It fought both against partisans and the Red Army before it was disbanded in August 1944 due to a lack of fuel. The 102nd Independent Company was formed back in December 1943 with 6 Toldy and a few Soviet T-40 light tanks, along with some Chaba armored cars, using the personnel of 1st Armored Division. It served in western Ukraine until the arrival of 2nd Armored Division in mid-1944, after which its remaining tanks were taken over by this much larger unit. 1 Polish and 1 Soviet armored train were also used by the Hungarian occupation forces, along with a few Panzer 35R tank hunters that were based on the French Renault R-35 tank. The situation was mostly stable until August, although 2 light divisions, 2nd and 8th, were withdrawn to Hungary to help raise new units there. General Lakatos had to prevent German attempts to throw his meager forces against regular Red Army divisions. He managed to keep a 100-150 kilometer distance from the front, but securing railways and patrolling the area was also not an easy task. In August alone, 12,000 attacks took place against various targets within the area of Army Group Center, with 80 trains derailed. In September, despite repeated Hungarian objections, 1st Light Division was ordered to stop the Soviet advance. Within 2 weeks, the unit was wiped out. In the same month, 7th Corps was moved by rail to the Pripyat marshes near Rovno, while 8th Corps was moved to Pinsk to guard the railway line to Brest-Litovsk. 2 light divisions were withdrawn to Hungary, but 9 stayed. In November, Army Group Center was pushed back again. Kiev also fell, but Zhytomyr was retaken, while to the north, Bobruisk and Gomel were lost. 8th Corps moved north from Pinsk to Kobrin. Its units guarded the railway between Rovno and Lvov, while 7th Corps remained at its position. Between September and January, Hungarian Chief of Staff Szombathely and Horthy personally negotiated with Hitler repeatedly about the complete removal of their units from Ukraine, but they achieved nothing. According to the October 1943 Szabolcs Plan, all divisions were to be converted to the triangular 3-regiment form, becoming full infantry divisions. Second echelon formations with fewer weapons became reserve divisions, while third echelon units, the weakest, were now known as replacement divisions, with even less equipment and training. This reorganization took months and continued after the German occupation of Hungary in March 1944. A month later, in April, the Occupation Forces Command was dissolved. 7th Corps and its 3 reserve divisions were transferred to the newly mobilized 1st Army, while 8th Corps became 2nd Reserve Corps and continued its occupation duties with its 5 reserve divisions around Brest-Litovsk. These divisions were under strength. They had little artillery, mainly captured Belgian and English guns, and few support units. In June, the Soviet offensive pushed 2nd Reserve Division towards Poland. A month later, they once again had to fight against regular Red Army units, but by early October, after the capitulation of Romania, most of this force returned to Hungary, where it regained its original number, becoming 8th Corps. 5th Reserve Division remained in Poland. It eventually surrendered in May 1945 in northern Slovakia. This concludes the episode on the Hungarian occupation forces in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.